one of the things that I love about riding that kind of bike with the fixed gear, with no brakes, is you are committed to the thing. You are committed to the thing. And while you're flying at high speed and you are knuckle to knuckle and elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder, yes, that's an intense moment. And it is the same moment where I have found myself the most peace. Because you have to stay calm. You have to stay calm. You have to balance respect for the machine and the speed with fearlessness. Yeah, you have to balance fearlessness and respect.
Sweet. So go ahead and introduce yourself and what you do.
Hi, my name is Christine D'Ercole, which is ridiculous to say on a regular basis. So I usually say D'Ercole, which is a modified version. I am a cycling instructor at Peloton, and I also have a entire, I think business seems like the wrong word. I am an advocate for mindfulness in our self-talk. And I do workshops called wordshops about self-talk. And it's all interlaced with how I teach my classes at Peloton, and it's my everyday experience is constant awareness of how I am talking to myself and bringing that awareness to others, because the most powerful thing anyone can say to us is what we're saying to ourselves. And if we can catch ourselves in a negative rabbit hole, whether that's in a bike race or just in life, then changing those words can change what's a guaranteed negative to something possible.
Very cool. So how'd you touched on it a little towards the end, but cycling, where did, and the bikes behind you, kind of where did that all begin, and kind of like a brief history of your cycling career?
I started as a bike messenger in New York City. I took a year off from college and came to New York City, and I needed a job. And because I'm an incredibly impatient person, and I don't like waiting for anyone or anything, like buses or subways. I was learning the city by bike. And when I was in college, I didn't want to wait for the shuttle. So I got on my bike and went. And I didn't want to go to a gym. So I was like, oh, well, everybody needs to exercise. So I guess this is great. Kill two birds with one stone. But when I needed a job back in it was 90 or 91. It just made sense as I'm going through. Do you remember newspapers, the paper things with news?
Yes.
In the classified ads, it's this Champion Courier on 24th Street in Chelsea. All you needed was a bike and a lock and no experience. So I went down and they asked me where the Empire State Building was, and I don't know that yet. They're like, you're hired. But I actually have to backtrack. I started out as a dancer growing up, and spent many years trying to be a ballerina, but my thighs were twice the size of all the other little, very, very tiny girls. And there was a lot of body shame and body image and dysmorphic issues that is not just women, but human beings experience growing up, and very, very specifically in ballet. And that caused a very traumatic relationship with myself. When I discovered bicycles, and then fast forward, messengering, and then racing, I was able to flip the switch on how I felt about myself. And I'd spent so many years in this battle between trying to be smaller, make myself smaller, that when suddenly, because of my size maybe, I was winning races, I thought, oh my God, I am built for something. And I used to hide my legs, and then I became proud of them. And that was a very, very powerful transition. And it started with the bike messengering. But I have to tell you, there's a couple other pieces of that story that after I quit dancing, I went into acting, and I got into this really good school. And I noticed on one of the audition sheets, it's loved the Shakespeare, loved my other monologue, but she's a little heavy in the thigh. And I was like, I thought with acting, there was a part for every body at every age. And then I thought, wow, I'm not built for this dream either. Then I discovered messengering and hence racing. And then I had a child, and I gained a significant amount of weight. And I thought, all right, I've always been told I'm a big girl. I'm going to embrace this now. How do I embrace this? I have to accept myself. So I went into plus size modeling. I go to QVC, and we love your look, we love your walk, but you're not big enough. Now, you can model the winter and the fall lines, but we can't have you in the spring and summer because the short sleeves are going to show that your arms are disproportionately small under this padding that we're going to have you wear. And I thought, wow, how is it possible that a person can have all of these aspirations and literally hit the wall every time based on the size of my body? And it's just absolutely ridiculous, but really messed up and twisting in a person's head. So cycling resolved all of that. I remember this one day modeling, and before you went on set, you had to look at yourself in the mirror and make sure everything was right. And I caught my eye, like a double take, and there's something in my head said, stop. You spent all your life in this battle between being too big and too small, and you've been missing the point the entire time. Get back on your bike, go back to the thing that gave you the most joy and where you felt the strongest. Go back to what you were built for. And I did. And then that led to teaching cycling and racing on and off again. As a parent, there were a lot of obstacles to racing. But in 2009 and 10, I dove back in. I took another break, and thank you to my beautiful, beautiful friend, Cami Cornelli, and fellow Masters World Champion team sprint gold medalist. She nagged me for 7 years to get back in. And in 2017, I got back in. And it's been a happy journey.
Very cool. Very cool. So you touched on a lot of there's a lot to unpack there. But what made it kind of a little bit, just the lightheartedness to it though? What made cycling so different than everything else that you've done? Those first few moments as being a courier, what was it just that I'm getting even goosebumps talking about it. It's just what were some of those feelings going through when you were riding?
Ballet, acting, modeling, all of these things have to do with what you look like. Pretty or not pretty. And finally, I was in a place where none of that mattered. This was about strength and skill and smart. Everybody's in a helmet. Nobody knows what anybody looks like. You're all wearing Lycra. And suddenly I was free. I was finally free. No opinions about appearance. And to that end, what color one is, everybody is free on a bike. And it really boils down to that. You don't win a race because you're cute, you know, or not cute. You win a race because you made smart decisions and you knew your strengths, and you were assertive and confident. And cycling is such an internal reflection of how you live your life, in my mind. Cycling also is the place where I became keenly aware of how I talk to myself. In a race where I'm saying, oh no, here she comes. She's gonna catch me. Well, then she's gonna catch me. But I remember flipping that switch one day at Casina Velodrome in Queens, probably 1996. And I said, but what if I can go faster? What if I can go faster? And then I did. And, you know, it's not like changing the words is a guarantee that you're going to change what happens, but changing the words makes it far more likely that you can activate the meaning of those words into a positive result, as opposed to, she's going to catch me. She got you.
Gotcha. So can you kind of, it's a perfect segue then. So where did the idea then, and like, it sounds like you've definitely had like an epiphany with the relationship with your bike, and like willingness to share that with others. And you're kind of hinting at with the I can, and a little bit like a little bit of your business, and like how did cycling kind of play into how you structured and developed your business?
Well, growing up, the people around me, I love my family, but there was a lot of, oh, I really want to do this, but I can't because blah, 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 blah. And I always found it incredibly frustrating, and always wondered, well, why can't we? And here's a silly example. My mother wanted to tear the wall down in the bathroom. I got so tired of hearing, I was 15 years old, so tired of this. Like, I went up with a hammer and I started taking the wall down. I was wired to change the chatter. When I started teaching cycling, I'd been in it for a couple of years. It was, I think, 2006. And I had the class on a hill, and there are these Japanese kodo drums. Everybody's drenched, and they're connected. And I said, I want you to turn that resistance until you think you can't keep your cadence anymore. And then tell yourself, I am, I can, I will, I do, let's go. It was spontaneous. I know I had thought those words before, but they had never come into my class. And that was an utterly spontaneous moment. And it stuck. People came to me afterwards and like, that stuck. I can't get that out of my head. And I found that remarkable to me, because I've been saying it to myself, like, well, then if it's impacting other people, that's all I ever wanted, was to have an impact, to have a positive impact on other people, to create situations where someone, if I'm publicly asking myself questions about what I'm capable of, and somebody else hears them, then maybe they will ask themselves that question, and we can all sort of discover that we're capable of things we didn't know we were capable of together. And so as a little girl watching ballet, when I got inspired to watch ballet, it was because of this incredible ability of the body to tell a story through shapes and gestures. Acting was bodies moving and words to tell stories, to change lives. Somehow, movement on a bicycle, words and music came together into this alchemy where people have moments of reflection and start thinking differently about who they are and what they're capable of. When that your body is moving in rhythm and your heat is increased and your breathing is deeper, it's like you're cooking. And you put the right words in that pot, you can make change. I didn't set out to do that. It came together. It came together. It's
And you
not
feel like
magic, but it's
it almost feels like though, but
right.
like, and like, I mean, you've already mentioned like the original, that first class that it's like, I can't get those words out of my head. It was just like, and it has since been like this moving ball where it's just like more and more people are like, come to this and be like, wow, like
It was
this.
a slow snowball, very slow at first. And it was around 2014 when I was working in a place where it was time to go. I needed a change. And I was financially in a real pinch. And I needed to find a way to make ends meet. And I decided I'm going to put these words on a t-shirt and sell it on Etsy and see what happens. And I maxed out a credit card and I put them on, posted them on Facebook, no idea how to use social media, and opened an Etsy store. And I created cash flow. I had debt, but I created cash flow. So I was able to like pay the minimum and buy groceries. And then that just started to pick up momentum. And then there were other words that I would say in my classes that I would get feedback, like this stuck with me, that stuck with me. I found people were taking things I'd said and tweeting them and quoting. I'm like, what? I mean, I always thought of myself as a writer. Like I also write a lot, obviously the word shops, but I never knew that. I just feel so grateful that something I've said and something I've done had an impact. And to be able to share this story of how powerful movement is, and for me, movement on a bicycle, and how powerful words are when you are aware of them, has just turned into a thriving business.
Very cool. Very cool. And there's like, well, these kind of stories that I think, I mean, like it's the trouble in the start and then the kind of the nice resolution at the end, kind of fairy tales sort of system to it, but that Disney plays up on a lot. But it's really cool to hear someone and how cycling plays into that. So I was looking on your Spotify earlier. You have a vast array of music and how music, I'm sure, ties into your cycling almost hand in hand. Can you expand on how music took that role and how that kind of plays into your life in the many different facets that it does?
We are all affected by music profoundly. And again, I go back to the ballet, keenly aware of music and its swells and breaks and moving to that. when the body is in this repeated rhythm, and this you're moving to it, to the rhythm of music, and words or no words, you're somehow able to almost re-synchronize yourself, it seems. And that's this is a unique experience to a cycling class. You don't have headphones in on the velodrome, but better not. But this powerful thing happens where whatever part of your brain is accepting the sounds becomes like a motor, and all of those sensations of discomfort and burn when you are hitting your capacity, they kind of disappear. And so music has the power to transport us into levels of intensity that we might not have otherwise gotten to, in my experience. That's very different from racing. Like racing, there's no music. But when you're training and you're on a bike that's not going anywhere, it's such a powerful tool. And the range of music that you see in my Spotify, you never know what's going to touch someone. We all have such a wide range. And I know that my reputation at Peloton is to have more of the alternative and dark wave, goth, instrumental, classical, not so much pop stuff. And I relish that niche. I relish bringing something that someone might not have heard before, but falls in love with, to help people discover music in that way. It's just a very rewarding side benefit.
Now, this could be your trade secret, but and I don't want to, if you don't want to say it, but how do you go about finding and building your playlists? How do you go about finding your music? Or if there's like certain rabbit holes that you go down that are like yours and yours only? Totally get it, but
no, I have no secrets regarding that. In fact, I've always believed that when I started teaching, we were still burning CDs. And certain, music was taken from wherever you could find it. It was no holds barred. You had a DJ friend and they give you a special mix that nobody else had, and you had a corner on that piece of music. You did not share it and nobody else had access to it. It made you special. And I was like, no, you got to give it away. You got to let it go if you want to grow. And so I was all into sharing music. Let's all expand and expound on what each other knows and is familiar with. I'll tell you, sometimes it's really hard. Sometimes I have no point, I might be scheduled to teach a 90s rock ride, and the thought process is, okay, the 18 songs I want to play, I played 2 months ago. You can't play them. Play something you haven't played, and that's challenging because we buy music because we want to hear it again and again and again. But we have to balance that with keeping it fresh. And the unique thing with Peloton is that classes are taken thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of times. So if I use that same song, then it just might be overkill. So trying to find the balance between satisfying the familiarity and showing something new, giving a balance between that it's a big challenge. Always debating, do I make my playlist holistic in terms of it's all going to have a certain kind of sound, or do I like jump genres and go from Gaga to Dave Matthews to Public Enemy? You know, it's wide open. It's so wide open. I do my best to choose songs that are meaningful, to choose songs that have pointed lyrics, to choose music that is transportive and immersive and epic, especially at the end. We always have to cross a finish line. Even if it's a low intensity class, there has to be something that makes you dig your claws into the finish line.
Very cool. So switching gears a little bit, but the last thing I want to kind of talk to you about is kind of how the marriage between grit and grace plays into your space. And that's again, like there's so many different facets to who you are, which I find fantastic, and just like, and how cycling has so immersed and involved in all those different pieces of it. What I mean, grit and grace is overly, well, I think it's overly used, with not very many people actually truly getting to the core of it. So how would you go about explaining how grit and grace plays into your space?
We can all muscle our way through something and tear it up, whether it's, you know, winning a bike race, training, or just being aggressive in life. But it doesn't play out very well if grace isn't attached to it. How you handle winning, how you handle losing, how you handle the fight, how you handle the struggle is as important as the struggle. I've been in races where I've experienced incredible aggression. I've been in situations where I've been incredibly intimidated by the others around me. And there's, you know, there had been in the past, in my experiences, a lot of just ego racing, not even on the track, like sitting on the sidelines, and that kind of grit. And I've always thought, I get it. I get the intensity. It's competition. It's serious. Some more serious, respectfully. You've got the Olympics on your plate. Serious. And at the same time, there's such an incredible community to be had. And if we want to grow that community, we have to balance our focus, our grit, our assertiveness with grace and welcoming people and winning gracefully and losing gracefully in order to continue to grow the sport. Can't have just one without the other.
Very true. Very true. Hopefully more people see that side to it. I think there are, it's just it's a small minority. And I think with time and with the proper platforms that people get to share and the storytelling that you do very well, it will get out there for sure.
I hope so. I mean, it is my mission to bring cycling to as many people as I possibly can. And I'm a huge supporter of Star Trek, this youth cycling organization here in New York. And very proud to have facilitated a lot of funds towards them. And I think that by bringing them up young and supporting them and showing them the community and encouraging them is a great way to bring up the next generation. And also just making it accessible. And I know my branch of the sport, track cycling, I think we're like the smallest niche group of cycling, and our resources are, I mean, we just lost 2 tracks in the last 2 years. 2? Is it at least 2? Texas and Minneapolis. I want to build a bunch of velodromes. How do we do that?
Right.
Somebody has the money.
Exactly.
Somebody has it. I know they do. So I also am very proud of my little group, the I Am, I Can, I Will, I Do team, which is literally a group, there's just under 30. And you want to ride for the team? We're the kit. Ride for the team, we're the kit. I don't care if you race. All I care is that you're curious. And we have conversations in our group. Occasionally we bring in someone to talk. We had Gabe Lloyd come talk to us. And Christian Vandeveld, who also teaches at Peloton occasionally, who's very busy right now at the tour. Hoping to get him to come now that I've put it out there here. No pressure, Christian. It's just an environment that helps bring actually a lot of middle-aged adults to try something so completely unique that they had never heard of before until they started taking my classes. Because it is so niche, and I'm so proud of every single one of those people getting on a bike with no brakes.
So what do you think, like, for me, I've done everything but track cycling.
Really?
Well, yes. For me and everyone that's in my boat, like, what's like the first thing that you want to have me think about when I throw my leg underneath that bike and get on the track? What are some of the things that, like, going back to your kind of self-talk and mindfulness, what should I be thinking about? Because for me, it's very much, it's a fear thing, not really like a curiosity opportunity thing.
1, breathe. Breathe. And don't stop pedaling. One of the things that I love about riding that kind of bike with the fixed gear, with no brakes, is you are committed to the thing. You are committed to the thing. And while you're flying at high speed and you are knuckle to knuckle and elbow to elbow and shoulder to shoulder, yes, that's an intense moment. And it is the same moment where I have found myself the most peace. Because you have to stay calm. You have to stay calm. You have to balance respect for the machine and the speed with fearlessness. Yeah, you have to balance fearlessness and respect. I would say be patient. And it is 100% true that almost every single thing that scares us a lot is something that's going to be a lot of fun and bring us a lot of joy and make us very proud. There have been so many things that I have been afraid to do in life, and the itch of being afraid of it is something I like have to scratch that and get rid of the fear You get rid of the fear by doing the thing. I was scared to death and would not race the UCI races in 2017 when I got back to racing. I was like, I haven't been here for 7 years. I'm good. And it was sticking with masters only. And then I saw some of the masters I'd been racing the following year jump into the UCI races at Lehigh Valley. And I was like, oh, if I just raced with them and we all hung together, and now they're racing with them and they're hanging, then I don't really have an excuse to not try. So reframing my self-talk, they're too fast, I'm not fast enough. Reframing that to, what if I can hang on? And not worrying about winning, just let's see if I can not get dropped. I did a whole bunch of them. I'm 49 years old. I could be mom to almost all of them. I won one of those races in 2018. Now they let me go. I'm sure they thought, we'll catch her. But they didn't. And I won a scratch race, a C1. We have no idea what we're capable of. And of course I end up like last later, but but you don't know, if I looked at the times, which I do, of all of the other women that I've done team sprints against at nationals and at worlds, I would think I don't really have a shot. But then Cami and I won. So if you're curious about something at all, I feel like you have the obligation to indulge that curiosity. It's almost like if you have an inkling about something, it's a sign. I don't mean like an ethereal sign, but I mean it's a street sign identifying a direction that you should head in. And even if that inkling going in that direction doesn't pan out directly, that it will lead you to something else. And then when you start stringing those things together, you find yourself on a path. And you might end up in a completely different place than you might have anticipated, but only because you followed those inklings. I feel like that's how I got to this place. And they're all strung together and they make perfect sense when you look back at how the path lined up. So that was a lot to say, get on a track bike.
No, it's the motivation that it's needed, that is duly needed to do it. So thank you. And with that, I thank you for your time. I hopefully think that those that will watch this will gain something. I'm sure I did. More times over than I thought I would. So thank you again.
I really appreciate the opportunity to share my story, and hopefully words will land in someone's ears and inspire them to try something they haven't tried and join this incredible community that we have.